What is going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to another episode of NAS100 analysis today. I hope you guys have had an amazing week. Or an amazing last week. So we're going to be preparing for this week coming, and I'm going to pick up from where I left off in regards to the last technical analysis that I did. So, last technicals. We're just going to get straight into it. Oh, by the way, super important. Okay, well, it's important to me, right? Is that if you find the content useful, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification, and drop us a like, right? That would be greatly appreciated if you guys could do that. So the last content that we did, we looked at this area right here in terms of the moves that I made in this area, right? As well as what we expected to take place in this area moving forward. So let me just lock this in place. Let's lock that in, right? So what do we have this week? So this week we had a weekly high that was set at this level right here. Okay. And I'm going to get onto the trades that I made, some of them, because literally this week I had all winning trades. I didn't lose a single trade this week, right? It all worked out. One of them hit TP. One of them was taken out via trailing. No, two of them were taken out by trailing stock. But ultimately, I mean, in the end, literally, I won pretty much every single trade I got into, and that is something that I aim to replicate again for next week. So that was the weekly high that I noticed over here, okay? And the weekly low was set on Friday. So let's mark out the weekly low right here, because we're going to be needing to keep an eye on these levels for next week, right? So that's the weekly low. And in between these two here, right, what I basically did, because I mentioned it, and this was brought to my attention by a video that I saw previous weeks ago, right, from a YouTuber called ITC, right, and he was talking about a whole number of concepts, but there's one concept that resonated quite well with me, and that was the fair value gap. Okay, so I've been using that concept, the fair value gap, to actually plan my trades as to how to get in and how to get out, right? As well as all the other additional skills that that I've picked up along the way as I'm learning how to obviously navigate the market. So the first fair value gap that I was able to jump on was on the Tuesday. So I didn't take a trade on the Monday, and I did not take a trade on the Friday. Right? I wanted to. There were opportunities where I could have taken a trade on the Friday, but ultimately I didn't jump in. I just didn't jump in. But I took a trade on the Tuesday. I took a trade on the Wednesday, and I took a trade on the Thursday, and I won every single one. Okay, so first things first, let me show you how I entered those trades, right? So first, it took a while. So on the Wednesday was when I actually identified that this was actually the weekly high for the week, right? But up until then, I didn't know. I didn't know, right? I did not know at all. So literally, the first fair value gap that I noticed was this one right here, right? So what I basically did was I entered the market at this level right here, entered the market at this level right here, and I got a TP hit right down here, right down here. So I got the TP hit right there, and that was fantastic. And I didn't do anything else. So I did not buy back into the market whilst the market was trending upwards. I just left it as that, had my fill, and then walked away. The following day, I expanded the fair value across further, right? So I expanded it further. So on my phone, it's actually dragged all the way to the end, right? But obviously, it hasn't synced with the PC, so I'm gonna have to show you right on here. So literally, so I dragged it across. So on the Wednesday, I took the time out to look for another situation to get into, and on the Wednesday there wasn't really much of a fair value. Okay, so this was going off some of the stuff that I already knew. So this wasn't a fair value activation into the trade. This was purely based on the fact that this low here was taken out. Right, so this low here was taken out. So the low here was taken out, right? What I should have done, the textbook setup of this low being taken out was I was meant to wait for this one here to close, right? But because I kind of saw that it was up here and it was pushing downwards, I just impulsively went back in, and that turned out to be a good decision. So this was on luck, right? So this level here was on luck. So this level here was on luck, right? So I dragged it all the way down. I didn't get a TP hit on this one, but I was triggered out via trailing stop. And the trailing stop that took me out was this candle over here. So this one here took me out, right? Because my trailing stop was right here, right? And then the second one, this was not, once again, a fair value gap setup, because as you can see, the price didn't push all the way up there. But once I could see the price was returning downwards from the zone, from this area over here, okay, so it didn't go to it, but it was moving away from it, I literally entered in on this candle over here. I entered in on this candle over here, and I was taken out in that Friday via a trailing stop, which was covering this candle over here. Let me use this actually, which was covering this candle over here, right? So all the ones I entered into, so every single trade I entered into last week, I won every single one of them, okay? This was the most amount of profits that I was able to get. The rest were okay, they were workable, right? I kind of wish I had stayed in this a little bit longer, because then that would have given me a little bit more on the Friday. But obviously that's how the cookie crumbles, so that's just that, right? So that's how I was able to get all of those gains. Now, let's focus more into, so now we're going to go into what I think is going to be for next week, right? The week coming up now. So in my opinion, a couple of things have taken place that we need to be aware of. So first off, price has gone below a major level. So price has gone below a major level as it stands right now. And if I was to zoom out, you can see here that this was the highest point, and price is now steadily, slowly, it's looking like it's going into what I believe could be a downtrend. And it could be like that for a little while, right? It could be like that for a little while. So there's an opportunity to stack on the way down. And as I say that, it is important that I say this, okay? I am not giving you financial advice, because this is just purely my assumption based on what I think market is going to do and how it's going to do it. It's always important to do your own research, do your own homework, and make sure these things make sense to you before you do anything. So I'm going to jump into the day. Because I literally have to drop a disclaimer in the videos, right? Just because of how sometimes things get done. And I always want to make sure that I'm not misleading anyone, getting anyone to do things that I wouldn't do myself, right? So I'm going to hide all the artwork on here, and we can see what's going on. So we can see that right now it's at the higher point. So I've been saying this for weeks now, but the problem when I was saying it for weeks was I was saying it over here, and I said it over here, and I was saying it over here, and at this level it looks like I was correct. I was like, yeah, price at a high point is going to start going down, so I'm downward facing, right? So it looks like that is actually come true. So I am right to be downward facing, but I was wrong when I was saying it up here. But so to move on swiftly, as we can see, price is now returning downwards, right? So the question is, how low is it going to go? How low is it going to go? How low? Because it could pivot and it could continue on the uptrend. It could be going up right now, right? But at the same time, in my opinion, I think it's coming back down to around these levels over here, to around these levels down here. Reason why I say that is I personally believe, right? I personally believe that the NAS is going to be in a range for a good couple of years moving forward, right? I believe that. I believe that it's not going to be doing what it was doing previously, which is just going up forever. It's either going to range up here for a bit, right? Or it's going to fly down even lower. And there are a lot of things, there are a lot of situations taking place in the world right now that could actually support the NAS even going even lower than these levels over here, okay? I mean, ideally, if you're actually invested in the NAS itself, you don't want that. You don't want that situation to happen, okay? Nobody does. But at the end of the day, the world is the world and reality is reality, right? So in my opinion is that I think market is gonna, from where it is right now, it's gonna end up somewhere down here. It possibly might go lower, and if it does go lower, then obviously such is life, right? But the good thing about it going lower is that because of depending on the type of structure that it forms on the way down as it ranges into a descending move downwards. So let me just put everything back on again. So I'm just going to draw this out so at least you guys can see what I'm talking about, right? I don't want to get rid of these lines, so we're just going to have to try to just view it in a way that hopefully you guys can understand what I'm trying to say, because I don't want to get rid of these levels. Actually, wait, as a matter of fact, let me see if I've got a clean, nice chart. Okay, so this is the best one I can do, and as you can see with all the drawings on here, these are all the key levels of where price is going to be bouncing around at. Okay, so yeah, so you kind of should have a chart, separate chart set up like this, that way you can use to guide yourself to see where the levels are, so you can navigate it. Right, a lot of work on it. Actually, this is too busy. I need to find another NAS. Okay, yes, I got a clean one. Fantastic, great stuff. Okay, so basically this is what I'm thinking, right? This is what I'm thinking. Currently, this is the shape of the NAS, right? Currently, the shape of the NAS, right? If it continues to push down, then it's fair to assume that we may be having. So I'm just going to reduce this down as low as I can possibly get it, as much images I can get in here, or as much of the chart I can get in here, just to show you exactly what I mean. Just to show you exactly what I mean. Because I think a move in this kind of way is going to be more accurate, and it's not going to go against textbook. It's going to stick with the textbook style. So as it stands, this is what I think the NAS is going to be doing for the next couple of years, right? I think it's going to be doing something like this. And this could go on for a little while. Right, this could go on for a little while. So my overall assessment for the years to come, right, it would look something like this. It would look something like this, right? So the vibe that I get is we may get lower lows, right? We may get 2 more touches of a lower low, and this could be between 2023 and let's say 2026. So this could go on like this for a little while. So we get the rest of this year, 2023, is flying down, and then we get the first half of say 2024 of it going like that, and then as we head into the winter of 2024, it starts coming down, and then we just need to know how many times it's going to be bouncing around like this throughout the year until it finally decides to really take off, which eventually it will do, right? Or it could just break, or it could just go like that. Boom. And then at which point it's going to be a disaster, right? So hopefully that's not the case, but that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting right now in regards to the NAS. So to go back to the original chart that we're looking at, I'm downward facing on that. So I'm downward facing on that, at least for the foreseeable future anyways. I'm downward facing, and we'll see what that develops into as we move towards the end of this year. So let's go back into the 1 hour. The 1 hour. This has been a bit of a rant. So what I'm expecting next week. Okay, is possibly for price to visit this zone again. So I'm thinking next week we may get price come back up to 15,266.5. It could come up to that zone, okay, and then we wait to see if it's going to start pulling away from it. And then once it pulls away from it, we want to see how low it goes, with this area over here being a key point, because at the moment it's been breaking the new weekly low. So it's broken this weekly low over here, and we now have a new weekly low over here, but this is the one that we need broken to confirm that there is a good chance it's going to be flying all the way down to those levels that I just showed you previously. That is just my personal take on it. And once again, not a financial advisor. Because you've heard it here does not mean that this is set in stone. Okay, so with all of that covered, my awesome people from all around the world, I want to thank you for coming over to watch another episode of NAS100 analysis today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will be very, very soon. So for now, this is Pips and Points signing out.